if it means anything to you guys. Summer loving. I don't know if that rings any bells, but the main point of summer loving is to tune in to the love that we have from the Torah, the love that we have from Hashem Yisbarach, our creator, the love we have right now in our studio in Jerusalem. Thank God that we are here by Hava, with love. It's a very deep, profound love. Tzufa Hava, beautiful song from Yishai Ribo. And there's many other ways of connecting into the Ahava, the love between us, the Loving All People campaign that we're still, thank God, aware of. We have Shalom from Germany, exactly. We've got the love from Germany, we've got love from global Emuna campaigns that's going on, thank God, weekly. And we have a big love, as you can see from the cover photo from YouTube, that we had the pleasure of Rudy Rochman in the house. It was an amazing class. Activism with truth, that was the focus. And I hope all of you have checked out the class. If you haven't, if you wonderful people haven't watched the class on Sunday, go watch it after this class. I'm not going to be too long, hopefully less than 30 minutes. And the goal of this class is, once again, is to strengthen our connection to God, strengthen our connection to ourselves, to have more understanding and love of ourselves, because we can't love other people unless we learn to love ourselves. And please God, this class will be going up on our Breslev.com website. I was happy to post today. The Nissim Black's awesome visit the week before is already up on our website, Breslev.com. Go check it out. The Nissim Black class with myself. Please God, with Darnell, God is making a recovery and he'll be back in the studio, we hope, this Sunday. We're still yet to confirm the guests or the special guest. Looking very likely, Nissim Black is working on speaking to Amari Stodmeyer. We hope he'll be able to make it. If he's listening now, we'd love to have you, Amari. If not, we also have another option as well. We're going to reach out hopefully to the Chaim OG at some one of these next few weeks, if not this week. And then we have some other wonderful people around who want to join us, and it's just a matter of coordinating. Thank God there's so many amazing people. I had a pleasure to speak with a wonderful Yid yesterday, Moshe Gersht. Going to try to be helping him a little bit, get out there a bit more in terms, he's already, thank God, got a good following, but we want to just help with the Unity bookings, make sure that people are getting opportunities to reach communities in person. Obviously, the biggest feeler is, and we're sitting right now in Rav Shalom Arish's wonderful studio, that we want Rav Shalom Arish to have a full Refuah Shem, Shalom Ben Yemna, join us again in our English weekly class. But even more importantly, not only should he have a full Refuah and be able to speak with full energy and strength, like we will remember a few months before, that he should also be able to go on tour in person so we can connect in person. The hope is, we're still planning on a tour in November, end of October, beginning of November, to hit up Monsey and Boston, not Boston, in Brooklyn, excuse me, Monsey and Brooklyn, just keep it localized so the Rav, even if he has a full recovery, but not to push it, not to travel like we do in the past to many, many locations. And now then we'll be up to you guys to make the trip to New York if you're not in New York. And that's us being real and going with the flow. So everyone out there who's joining us now, you give us your feedback, make us feel the love, give us the opportunities to feel that we're, thank God, praying for Arush. Let's make it happen. He should have a full recovery, because it's all possible. I've seen it happen before with him when he had an issue with his speech, and I already mentioned here that he had a full recovery over Rosh Hashanah and Uman. What's going to be this year? Who knows? We'll put up our hands in the air and we ask. So let's go now into our class. We spoke about last week about the end of days. How are we going to process these end of days? The YouTube was funky last week, so Baruch Hashem, everything's the way it should be. We even have the website team. So with every challenge, like last week's challenges and the end of days challenges, you can feel sometimes a bit overwhelmed. But I was very, very inspired by Rudy Rochman's appearance, because he's someone who's been in prison for his mission. He's someone who's, thank God, being able to stand up and discuss in a gentleman, in a very polite, proper way to all kinds of people who even hate the Jewish people, like Nazis and Machshamam and all kinds of anti-Semites, and even people self-hating Jews, and then there's always all these kind of people that Hashem should protect us from. So how do we tune into the love energy? So as we said already, one of the things I felt sitting next to Rudy is, one, a lot of self-love, but in a healthy way, because it's brought down from a Tzaddik. You can't really have Emuna in Hashem unless you have Emuna in yourself. You have to believe in yourself, and that is something which he was blessed with at a very young age, to get a clear picture of what his mission is and develop that and evolve that from a young age. Personally, I felt like I only really woke up around 18, 19 to really understand I have more to myself, and it's still, a process in works. And thank God, tuning into the United Souls concept the last few years with Emuna Tour and Emuna classes that we're doing here with Rav Arush, and being around the Tzaddik Rav Arush, and also all my other Rebbeim, and all the years of, thank God, of self-work and having a soulmate like my wife, who's, thank God, always pushing me to grow. We have the opportunity to hopefully come to a level of belief in our mission, and that goes together with loving oneself, and then we can really get into the summer loving. Now, the world tricks us and thinks, like the Grease movie that I was singing at the beginning, Summer Loving, it's about, how cute the person is or the physical attraction. And there's a lot of that focus nowadays in the world. And we know, without me going into it, how much that can unfortunately lead to like a Johnny Depp kind of situation with Amber, and need I say more. But there's plenty of examples and role models in the wrong way. I'm not saying that Johnny was wrong, but just the overall end of story. And people like you and me can work out already with common sense that there's a better path of marriage and relationships that's available, especially when you're learning the Torah. We're joining each other weekly and touching base with some values and goals in our relationship. I have, thank God, my relationship podcast. There's always the links below in the description. You can check it out. The latest one wasn't that long ago, and thank God we discuss some really important things with my wife and myself, so you can hear both sides of the story, not just my one-sided opinion. But hopefully the goal is in all relationships to come to that unified approach. That's the hope that we have. And I just had a meeting here yesterday with some people that ran a podcast who have, thank God, opened up the doors to have conversation about the Garden of Shalom. And it definitely is agreed, the Garden of Peace, that we need to, everyone's in agreement, including here, that we need to revise the book. So anyone who has it, we hopefully at some point will have a new edition. Now, I'm not the one who's unfortunately in charge of that, otherwise we'll get it done now. But we're going to have to wait, but everyone can pray. I ask everyone to pray that a new edition of the Garden of Peace should come out, revised and clarified, so everyone can get the full benefit. Even though someone like Nissim Beck would say that the book's awesome as is, and he's growing so much from it, it's helped his marriage, and there's many other followers of Rav Arush who hold of the book. But we want this class to be received by a larger sphere of influence than we're doing right now, and part of that will be to update the message. So that includes some of the books that were written a while back. We need to update the way they've been put out there so that it's more universal and more acceptable. And that's something I'm going to put some energy into the next few days, of pushing with Diane Elgrod and the Rav and the family, the Arush family, to make it happen. But once again, you guys got to pray, you got to want it, but put pressure from outside. You want a new edition of the Garden of Peace. It's such an important part of our journey. And also we've hopefully been putting out not just a pamphlet of loving everyone, but also the concept of it's not enough just to love everyone. We've got to get to the next level of putting it into writing and bringing it into everyone's home, this concept through a proper book, organize the teachings of Rav Arush. So, and once again, hopefully it'll be done clearly. We have to pray the translator gets the concept. And everyone out there who's listening, I don't know if Facebook just went whoop. So I don't know if that was my side. You guys give feedback. Hopefully everyone's tuning in. The concepts of loving yourself and loving others and having a summer ahead, a healthy summer, a loving experience. So right now in the Torah, let's turn to the Torah. What does it say there? So last week's parsha for us was Korach, and for you guys this week in the rest of the world, outside of Eretz Israel, outside of Yerushalayim, and outside of the Holy Land, is Korach. You're going to continue this week with Korach, and hopefully at some point, I think we're meeting Matos Masai, which is only a few parshas away. Amazing how time's flying. Also this week, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz as well. It's the new month. We're going out of Machane Yehuda, the camp of Yehuda. We're entering into the camp of Reuven, the Chodesh of Reuven. Reuven is Chodesh Tammuz. Reuven, see my son. And that's the concept of Reuven, the idea of being able to work on how you view things, your outlook. That's one of the sins of the Meraglim. They didn't view things right, so we've got to fix that. And that was Parsha Shlach Lecha. All these parshas are connected into the Zman as well, into the time of year. So Korach, we see that the idea of being behind the Tzaddik and getting rid of the machlokas, that's something like, as I'm saying with the podcast, we're trying to help people get more clarity. We're open to conversation. Anyone out there has issues of anything we're talking about or teaching, please email me or give feedback. We're not trying to, God forbid, hide anything. We're trying to be very transparent and make sure the teachings are clear and relatable and real. That's why we have such a range of guests, because through all the different kinds of souls that are coming into us, united souls, that's something, the personal message that I'm bringing, that we're trying to bring all these special souls to experience wisdom in a fuller way. And the way it comes out is by us coming together and joining and experiencing that. Okay, Facebook, I'm not seeing enough interaction. Where are you guys? Okay, so let's go. So now we're holding right now, thank God, in Parshas Chukas for us in the Holy Land. Chukas, we know it gives us humility, because we realize that the Torah and the wisdom is something which is from Chochmah Elyon, it's from a very high place. So that humility helps us. I mean, the whole science world and business world and everything is now in a state of flux. And honestly, the only answer, in my opinion, is to come to some levels of humility, to realize they don't know everything. Mental well-being of the world is in flux. People are struggling emotionally, and there's going to be a big need for, as I was speaking to one of my friends today, health professionals are in massive demand, and his therapy is packed up, and I'm sure many other therapists. And interestingly, I will be actually speaking again to Dr. Epstein tomorrow, who came here as one of our previous classes, and having a discussion with him how we can help with that. And as I mentioned, Moshe Gersh, about bringing spiritual alignment that will help people come to a better state of mind. But this all comes with us realizing, and it's the same with the addiction world, that we need help, and that we need that extra heavenly help. And Chukas is a concept, that purity that comes with the paraduma. And hopefully anyone who tunes in for next week as well can come back to this class and get these concepts. But the idea is that, it's relevant, the Parsha right now, for everybody, because the summer months comes. Not only does it come with the ability to have a chofish, or a vacation, as they say in the world, or holiday, whichever dialect you use to describe it, but everyone needs a little bit of a break. And that's why in the Shiva world, for example, they have Bein Zman, the time between the Zmanim, between the summer Zman and Elul Zman. There's this break time, but first we have to have the 3 weeks, which we hope this year will be when a Hafach will be turned around. That's the concept of Chaf Gimel. When I was in Amsterdam last week, and once again, thank you for praying, because it was an amazing experience. And that's going to be connected to what we're talking about, loving, the whole summer loving. That, thank God, I was at a wedding, and I saw there the connection between two beautiful souls, one of my best friends and a soul. I'm not going to say their names or any description about them, I want to keep private, but thank God the music that I was able to put up on at Unity Inspires Projects on my Instagram, you get to see there Eitan Katz forming together with his band, together with Alex Clare, together with the Shira Choir, and it was awesome. And Eitan Katz also performed with Roy Zakai and Ofer Ronain, two Spanish guitarists we brought special from Madrid, I believe, and they are Israeli, so they have that Jewish knowledge as well in terms of the music, and it was very, very uplifting, all the music that night. To be able to witness this beautiful shul in Amsterdam, Portuguese show, and also the continuation from the Tishrim all the way through the wedding, it was just beyond. And then to be at the actual wedding and see all these bands perform together on one stage, to hear the choir singing, Hasidic choir, the Shira choir just by themselves is awesome. And then to see it together with such a talented Lishma. We had him here, Eitan Katz, we've had him in the studio, had the blessing to have Eitan Katz when he lived here for a Tekufa, for a time period, and it was awesome. And that love you feel at the wedding through the music that is generated, and through all the prayer service, we prayed Mincha, Mara, all the different things, the aspects of the meaning of the wedding, the beautiful moments together, seeing all these friends and family, and being able to see these two souls come together in all the different aspects. I was the aid, I was the witness, so I got to be with the Chas and Kala all the way till they got to the Cheder Yichud, the room of unification, let's call it. Cheder Yichud sounds better that way. The room of unification where these two souls went together. So I had to be an aid and witness that they were there, all the way from the signing of the Ksuba, all the way through the chuppah with the ring, all the different aspects, all the unifications that take place between a man and woman. This loving experience that's available for all human race. The whole world has an opportunity to find their soulmate, to have true relationships. Once again, it goes together with a value system. It goes together, thank God. There's Rabbonim, there's people who come to make sure the service is done correctly, and there's the witnesses, and there's the whole experience of family and friends, and being able to build a life together with that kind of support network, and not to just think like this world is whatever, and just, it's just this animal instinct of releasing and getting your needs met, all that kind of false love that we have to, it's called Ahava Psolis, like this false kind of sheker love that, even though if you would understand what it says in the Sfarim, our holy books, Moranayim, these are delicate subjects, but the concept of ahava, of love, if you trace it into between man and woman and trace it back, it's actually a chesed. It's a chesed. It says by, even if a man was with his sister, still the Torah calls it chesed, even though it's forbidden. But the concept is it's a kindness, it's a connection, it's knowing someone else in a deep, intimate way. But obviously it has to be done in the right time, right way. And that was the beauty of last week. We see at a wedding, you see the kedushin. That's one of the reasons why it's called kedushin and the suin. It has a holiness and it has a unification. It's an amazing, amazing experience. And all of us have the power to tune in, thank God, in a real way. And it's just up to us to develop the vessel, once again, this is where chukas comes in, this week's parsha, to realize that there's wisdom beyond the Torah. All the mitzvahs of the Torah have a connection to the chukas, to the Torah, that the idea that we have not the full understanding of what a mitzvah is, we're not fully clear of the holiness and the power of a mitzvah and what's the reasoning behind it. Even though we do have reasoning, we do have some sort of clarification of what a mitzvah is, but it's still only ma'ain, it's only a little bit of really the depth. And if a mitzvah is eternal, every mitzvah we do is eternal, every word of Torah we learn is eternal, and it's becoming one with the Creator himself. So obviously then it's deeply and infinitely profound, and the effects and the power and the impact. So since we're not able to see all these spiritual effects that are going on, and we ma'amin, we believe through experiential knowledge, and we know in a deep way that this is what's going on when we're doing a mitzvah, but we don't know it fully, but we know on our soul level, and we understand it through what the Torah does reveal in our generation. And remember, when Mashiach comes, the Messiah comes, to talk about last in the end of days, we're very close to that. So there is slowly now a bit more of a revelation of how profound mitzvahs are. Like, people could tell you story after story of how a mitzvah saved someone's life, or a mitzvah awoken a soul. Like, we know Chabad always going around putting tefillin on people. Like, we had Rudy in the studio the other day putting tefillin on himself. The idea, the power of a mitzvah, that's what kept him alive in the prison those 3 weeks, kept him focused on his mission. It wasn't just amazing mindset, but he also had a pair of tefillin there that kept binding them to Hashem every day and reminding them what their mission was. And that's the idea, the power of a mitzvah, the power of tzitzis, to protect us from sin. For those who had Shlach Lecha not so long ago, we had the Parsha, the power to remind ourselves that we're surrounded, all the Dalit Konfos, the four corners of our being and the four corners of the world has sanctity, has a mitzvah, has a purpose. And to realize that, I read a beautiful story from the Chabad Rebbe, and we'll share it now, that if you go to each sitzit, there's 8 strings that come out of the 5 knots. And the 8 strings, if you times them by 4, is the numerical value of 32. 8 times 4 is 32, correct? Yes? Anyone out there? Yeah, you can comment. It's all right. It's cool. It's very important to get feedback. So if 32 is the numerical value of leiv, of heart, you can all give a heart. Yeah, the idea of a heart. So 32 is heart, leiv. Leiv is the heart is connected to the idea of Nesivas Shalom, of Nesivas Chochmah, the 32 levels of wisdom, the knowing heart. The heart level is the key to everything. We have to have a healthy heart. And Rahman Aliba, Hashem himself wants our heart. He wants us to have a relationship with him. He wants us to talk to him. He wants us to connect with him. This is part of what we're working on together weekly, and growing and learning and steiging and developing that heart level. When we're praying to Hashem, doing a spodus, we're cleaning away the heart level. In this week's Parsha, in Eretz Yisrael, Chukas, one of the beautiful concepts is, and especially in the Haftorah, is Hashem's going to pour upon us. Mayim Torah is going to purify our hearts, give us a leiv chodesh, a new heart. And this heart, 32, said the Babich Rebbe. So it comes this year to meet with the Babich Rebbe, and you have to understand there's a whole backstory. We'll just say it very, very quickly. The Babich Rebbe is his yahrzeit. It's also next. I think is it the Shabbos? Yeah, I think it's the Shabbos. 120 years. He's been alive, Baruch Hashem, or was alive. Yeah, 120 years. Shlita, that's how it depends who you hold. Like, we hold that, generally, we hold that he was passed away. Gimel Tam was a very sad day. But at the same time, personally, I've had dreams about him on that night, and he's still affecting us as legacy lives on for his students. So we'll say Zatzal, Zekasal Bocha, his Gimel Tam is his Shabbos. So we have in mind Lubavitch Rebbe, who's in this time period, as well as other Tzaddikim, like we'll talk about hopefully coming weeks. But the concept of the Lubavitch Rebbe with the Sitzah, so the story goes like this. This is the backstory. There was a father who came to Eretz Yisrael to meet with his son, who'd already moved here and was making in America. Excuse me, he came to America from Eretz Yisrael. Who was making a business in America, and he was nothing to do with Chabad, no connection at all. But they had to go down to Houston for an operation. And this father, who come all the way from Israel, obviously was very nervous. You know, he's a frum person, a religious person, and he wanted to keep kashrut and have Yiddishkeit, have a place to pray, and all those good things. And he's coming to Houston, yeah, Houston. We have landed, yeah, famous thing. So he was in Houston. I've been there with the Rav, Baruch Hashem, beautiful place. And at that time, this was in the 60s. The Judaism was a little bit like sparse. But there was Chabad, thank God. They didn't know how amazing Chabad was because they had no connection to Chabad at that time. It wasn't like now. Everyone knows who Chabad is. In the 60s, still was, you know, a growing phenomenon and still unknown generally. So suddenly comes this father and son. They need the hospitality of Judaism. And there it is, Chabadinik. And not only does he help them with a place to pray, but he helps them food-wise. He makes sure there's kosher food in the hospital. The whole process, he does the whole kadu. And it's amazing impression on these two people, the father and son. Anyway, I think the son's name was Yaakov. So Yaakov goes back to where he lives in New York, has once again no connection to the Rebbe or Chabad, but his father was very moved and says, I want you to go to the Rebbe and thank him personally for what we experienced in Houston, because it was the Rebbe who sent the Shliach, this agent of the Rebbe, to Houston. So there we are. He goes back to New York and forgets about it. He's busy with business. And he tries, suddenly remembers his father-in-law phones him up, says, you've got to do what I asked you, and it's really important that we show across the top, and the best way is to go to the Rebbe so that he knows how amazing his shliach is in Houston. So you got to get an appointment. Anyway, so he phones up the gabbis. He goes into 770s what a to-do it is to get a meeting at that time, even then, and so it means late night meeting a few months later. So he decides, you know what, I'll just write a letter. So he writes a letter to the Rebbe thanking him for everything they did in Houston and how impressed they were and how amazing the shliach, the Chabad agent there was of the Rebbe. So that was it. Okay, forgets about it, gets back to business. Anyway, his father phones him up again and said, did you go to the Rebbe? So yeah, sort of. Yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, I sent him a letter, but, you know, no, you have to go. Okay, you know, and then shortly after his father, maybe it's his father-in-law, I'm not sure, passes away. And in his savah, he writes it's actually not a savah, but a letter that he wrote to his father that comes in the post to his son-in-law, Yaakov. He gets the letter and he opens up the letter, and at the bottom of the letter, he has a PS, the last words he ever wrote or said to his son, as well as one of the last phone calls. It says there, go to the Babcha Rebbe. I don't just want a letter, I need you to go there and thank him personally. Okay, so now this is like as if he's like receiving a message from his father on his deathbed. So he's not going to just ignore it. He goes to the Chabad, one of the Chabad Gaboim from the Rebbe at that time in the 60s, and he asks him and says, I want a meeting with the Rebbe. He says, yeah, I remember you came a while back and I told you how you do it. So he says, well, look, this is a letter, and see what it says. It's the last thing you wrote to me about my you know, the need to come thank you and have appreciation for your shliach. And this is for my father or father-in-law, I don't remember which one, father on his deathbed, and I need to, you know, live what he asked me. I can't just ignore it, and I keep forgetting because it's such a to-do. So can you get me in sooner? It says this week I'll better get you in, because I suppose the Gabbai was impressed by the sincerity of the message from the father, and he was like, all right, let's just get this done. So he gets him appointment. He comes in, this Yaakov, to the Rebbe, very impressed with the Rebbe, and he tells him this Torah I told you just before about the 8 strings times 4 tzitzis, and that adds up to 32, and that is amazing power there of heart, of love, and the lave. And they have to understand the Rebbe, when he was speaking to this person Yaakov, he was just telling him about thanking him for the appreciation. And how did he get to the idea of tzitzis? So he just was mentioning, because they were talking about how his father was there for health reasons, that the Rebbe suddenly says it's very important you have a healthy heart. And then he tells him this Torah about the tzitzis. And then he goes on to talk about something else to do with, you know, the family and how much they appreciate, and how he'd already read the letter and he remembered the letter. And, you know, the Rebbe was impressive. Even though he was getting thousands of letters, he remembered everything. He remembered everyone who spoke to him. So this Yaakov was very overwhelmed how amazing his memory was, and how much he took things seriously, and the fact that he said all these profound messages, didn't really know exactly what it was all about. Anyway, to cut a long story short, Yaakov has a heart attack soon after, and he's in a situation of danger health-wise, and he asks his wife to tell the Gabbai that he'd already been in touch with to tell the Rebbe that he needs prayers for his heart. Anyway, a message comes back, wear tzitzis. And he's like, I'm wearing tzitzis. No, at night. Wear tzitzis at night when you go to bed. Make sure you have this beged on, the tzitzis when you go to sleep, and you won't have any heart issues anymore. Anyway, he decides, his wife starts, saying, why didn't you think of what the Rebbe told you then and, think into it a little bit more. But anyway, she made sure he was, she cares about her husband, put on the tzitzits, and the 32 and the heart, the lave, everything became good, no more heart issues. Anyway, there was one point we had a scare, and he realized that night before he forgot to put on the tzitzits, because there's, sleeping tzitzits, forgot to change and just went to bed in pajamas. And then he realized how powerful the words of the Rebbe was, and he put the tzitzits back on every night, and he lived a long life without any issues. So we see from this story, one, the Rebbe's foresight. He knew what bigger picture, and that's one of the important things of Parshas Korach, to realize there's a tzaddik, there's righteous people who lead us, and to have respect and covet for those people, and to properly come to them with this humility to learn. But there's also the concept, the idea, the power of a mitzvah, tzitzis. A mitzvah has the power to protect a person. Once again, we don't really understand the full power of a mitzvah. That's one of the messages we get from this story. The power of tzitzis to literally give life. If we understand that this world is a levush, a clothing, and the mitzvahs are a clothing of Hashem, as it says in the Tanya, that all the energy and power and full and health and foresight and wisdom comes through these mitzvahs, and the clarity to better know what to do, like what Chabad Reb Shliach once told me in London. So when you go work, and every day, like Rudy was saying about the tefillin, how important tefillin are, you put tefillin on, you have 4 lines here for the shin on one side and 3 on the other, and that's Gematria 7. Who are those 7 shin lines representing? 4 are representing Imahos, and the 3 are representing the Avos, the holy mothers and fathers that you're having on your head, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel. So you're connecting into that light of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, the holy forefathers, holy foremothers. And we're connecting that light, and that's bringing us the clarity to go into the world, to go into our life, to bring that energy, the light and the mitzvah into our everyday, and to be able to shine that Ki Hashem, Eko Alecha, that Hashem's calling His name upon you. That's also represents Shechina and Shem Shakai. That Hashem's calling His name upon you. The power of mitzvahs. You've been a mezuzah. You've got Shem Shakai on the door. The Shin Daled Yud. This is the name of the Shechina, of Hashem's presence. And wherever you go, the presence of Hashem, this eternal force. Just understand, it's eternal. It means it's bigger than all the nuclear missiles in the world. It's bigger than all the money, the billionaires. It's bigger than everything in the world. Just understand the greatness of Hashem and the greatness of Kedusha and holiness and the power of mitzvahs. And then you have, once you think into this is the point of the class, summer loving, then you start to love Hashem, because that's why, how do you come to that Avos Torah and Avos Hashem? How do you come it? By learning about it, by investigating it, by experiencing the power of Hashem, by learning His Torah, by learning His, so how do you love Am Yisrael? You have to see the greatness, one, of your own soul, so you don't have all these blocks, all these emotional issues that people are having nowadays, and all this narcissist vibe and all this self-centeredness. You get rid of that, you clean yourself, purify your heart, work on yourself, come to love yourself, come to love your mission. Then you can start to really love and see the greatness of another person. With humility, you can see how amazing other people are. That's why all this self-work, when you're in Parshas Chukas, you see the power of purification, is within our grasp, through learning, through growing, as it says in the Torah. It's a you have to kill yourself over the Torah and level. You have to kill the ego, get rid of that ego that's making you divided between people. Look at it online. Imagine if people would know these truths, that they don't have to constantly protect their ego online. It's not about you, it's about building a bigger mission. That's what we were getting from Rudy, and hopefully this new guest who is coming in will be a continuation. We're seeing there's a certain theme, that the divine providence, the hashgacha pratis, the flow that we're having in these classes, is Hashem bringing down a light through the guests and through your following and through your sharing, that's bringing us a certain awareness that we can deal with our challenges of our generation. And that the summer months are the time of heat and intense desires and challenges, and right now financially, and we spoke about it last week, all the challenges are gone, that we have this ability, hopefully, to stand strong, to be chazak, to be aware of our greatness, to be aware of our ability to overcome all this, not to be weak, not to be flimsy, not to be have a foundation that, God forbid, is not built properly so it falls down. To realize that every falling is just about teaching us how to get up. I was speaking about it with my wife today, and we have our weekly meeting, and it's so Chevy Pui Sadik would come. The idea that only can be a Sadik, so important to understand this. You can only become a righteous person, a really together role model person, if you've fallen. You're not going to get there from just growing up that way with the right education, the right background. I myself, I didn't grow up connected to all these concepts. I had to go seek them out and learn them. And here and there, Baruch Hashem, from my own family, friends, there was role models in some things. But I had to go seek further and find the truth. Yeah, strive for truth, as it says Rav Dessa. Mavakesha emes. Seek it out. Seek out the truth. Really seek it out. Don't give up until you find it. And there's all these people out there. I heard from the lead singer of Imagine Dragon. He was on Lex Friedman's podcast. Yeah, all these people out there are looking for truth. Lex is this singer, I've forgotten his name. Yeah, he's one of the most famous bands in the world right now. He's looking for truth, but who's he coming across? Yeah, the woke religion. I mean, they're not going to teach you anything true. They're the most confused people there is, except for maybe a little bit of nakuda of compassion that we can all, every human being has a basic, if you're normal, has some level of compassion. But there it becomes akzaris, becomes cruelty. Their compassion turns into cruelness, because they're confused. And that's our job, to mavakish, to seek the truth and to make sure it's known that the world should have an awareness. That's what these classes, one of the big points of what we're doing here. Not just me to sit here and fill up with half an hour space of some content. It's to actually make sure that we're growing and applying. As we said that with Rudy, it has to create activism, it has to affect our life and our sphere of influence and what we're doing. And we have to be able to be strong. We have to be able to say the message proud and know that we have a purpose, know we have a mission, and to not be scared of anything. Lo lefacher klaus, the Baal Shem Tov said, and that was his saying from his father to him on his father's deathbed, the Baal Shem Tov's Chesronenu, to remind us, and we had this in Chodesh Tov, we're finishing off this month, to take the light of Shavuos, take the light David HaMelech and Baal Shem Tov and Rus and all these Tzedekis and bring it together. This week we've got Yosef Asadik's campaign. Join together, David and Yosef, Kisei, David Abdecha, join together to reveal Hashem's throne, to reveal Hashem's presence, to reveal Hashem's truth, the wonders, the power of mitzvahs, the power of Torah, to reveal it in the world and to bring that clarity that everyone should know Hashem, everyone should know themselves, but who they really are, who their soul is. Learn the language of the soul. Learn to connect to your soul level. Do meditation, do espodatus, learn, pray, daven, do acts of kindness, be more godly in your ways. Connect into these spiritual energies that exist and are true, and all the confusion out there will start to dissipate. All the lack of clarity will, God forbid, Hashem should protect us from it all, that will dissipate and disappear, and we'll be able to come to a place where we'll be proud of our land, of Eretz Yisrael, of the base of Migdash, what it brings, the light, the clarity, when it comes, the third one comes back to this Mokum and Migdash in Yerushalayim. We'll be proud of it. Well, I remind you all, please to check out all the links in description. Once again, anyone's check out the beautiful wedding I was at. I put up all the music moments, not the Chas and Kala, they'll remain private. I put up all the music moments up online. You can go check it out. You can any of those artists, any of the speakers, anyone I work with, you're always welcome to reach out and book, Baruch Hashem, and most importantly, to connect into Emunalive.com, partner with us, partner with the campaign, send your names to Arush so he can pray for you on this special day, Yosef Asadik's his special day, his birthday, and this Yilel Revi, which is Wednesday night, Thursday day, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, should be a good Chodesh for everyone, should be a good Shabbos Korach or Shabbos Chukas, depending where you are. Should be a time of renewal with the new month, for the new camp of Reuven. Reuven is a camp of tshuva, time to really get in touch with who you are and the greatness of who you are. And please God, that will bring us all back to return to our true maker and creator and bring the Gula Shlema, the full redemption from Hevi Menu. Amen. Thank you for joining us. Be blessed, everyone.